Hey everyone, today, I'll be comparing all the battleships in the game to see which one is the best. I'll be going over their stats, armaments, and how they perform, and at the end, I'll be ranking them based on their capabilities. First, let's take a look at their stats. In terms of durability, the IJN Yamato is the toughest battleship, with a durability of 598,000, followed by Missouri with 572,000. New Hampshire comes next with 565,500, followed by Moscow with 546,000, and then Massachusetts with 539,500. The battleship with the lowest durability is the JS Yamato, with a durability of 526,500. For speed, the USS Missouri and USS Massachusetts are the fastest battleships in the game, moving at a speed of 20.2 knots. The New Hampshire and JS Yamato come second with a speed of 17.7 knots, while the RF Moscow is the third fastest at 16.4 knots. Lastly, the IJN Yamato is the slowest among them all, with a speed of 15.7 knots. As for their radar range, all battleships have the same radar range, but when it comes to sonar range, the New Hampshire boasts the highest with an impressive range of 2.4 kilometers, closely followed by IJN Yamato and Moscow at 2.2 kilometers. Massachusetts comes next with a range of 2 kilometers, followed by JS Yamato with 1.6 kilometers. Lastly, Missouri has the lowest sonar range among them all, with a range of 0.8 kilometers. Now let's take a look at their armaments. In terms of missiles, almost all battleships have missiles, except for IJN Yamato. Among those equipped with missiles, Missouri and Massachusetts have the most, each having 3 missiles. When it comes to cannons, USS Missouri, IJN Yamato, and JS Yamato have the most, with 11 cannons, while USS New Hampshire and USS Massachusetts have the fewest cannons, with only 2 each. As for autocannons, almost all battleships have them, except for USS Missouri. Among those with autocannons, IJN Yamato has the most, with an impressive 26 autocannons, while RF Moscow has the least, with only 2 autocannons. As for torpedoes, they are only available on USS Massachusetts, which has 2 torpedoes. In terms of grenade launchers, they can only be found on RF Moscow, JS Yamato, New Hampshire, and USS Massachusetts. RF Moscow has the highest number of grenade launchers, with 6 in total. When it comes to air defenses, all battleships have them. IJN Yamato has the most, with 24 air defenses, while USS Missouri has the least, with only 4 air defenses. Lastly, all battleships have reconnaissance aircraft, with IJN Yamato and USS New Hampshire having the most. IJN Yamato can send out 2 squadrons of hydro aircraft, while New Hampshire can deploy 2 helicopters. All battleships boast great firepower, and they don't differ significantly in this regard. Each one can inflict an incredible amount of damage, making them highly dangerous on the battlefield. However, if we compare them, the firepower of RF Moscow and USS Massachusetts stands out as the greatest. This claim is based on a test I conducted which demonstrates the greatness of their firepower by quickly eliminating their opponents. There is a video of this test, and I'll be sharing it with you guys now.
Battle stations, this is not a drill. Battle stations, gun action. Waterline, we're flooding quickly. Fire line. Battle stations. The missile is away.
As you guys can see, both the RF Moscow and USS Massachusetts eliminated the target at the same time, and they achieved this in the shortest amount of time, which makes their firepower the greatest. The other battleships were not too far behind them. They were able to eliminate the target almost as quickly as Moscow and Massachusetts, except for New Hampshire, since it took a little bit longer for the ship to eliminate its target. Nevertheless, the ship still inflicted a significant amount of damage, and the test demonstrates that they don't differ significantly in firepower, as I mentioned earlier. In terms of their effective combat range, all battleships excel at close and mid-range combat. However, nearly all of them struggle in long-range combat, except for Massachusetts and New Hampshire. At that range, these two battleships will still face some challenges in combat, but compared to other battleships, they are more capable, thanks to their missiles and railguns. I excluded other battleships equipped with missiles because the damage output of missiles alone isn't enough. To succeed in long-range combat, you need additional weapons at your disposal that are effective for that type of engagement, and that's where the railguns play a crucial role for Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Railguns are superior to regular cannons as they are more powerful, possess better accuracy, and have higher projectile speed, providing a significant advantage in engaging targets at a distance. There is a major difference in how they can unleash their firepower, which categorizes them into two types. The first type comprises battleships with their firepower centered on their main cannons, while the second type includes battleships with their firepower distributed across all the weapons on the ship. The IJN Yamato, USS Missouri, JS Yamato, and USS New Hampshire belong to the first type as they have powerful main cannon, and they gather a lot of damage by using them, while the RF Moscow and USS Massachusetts belong to the second type, as they don't have an incredibly powerful main cannon, and they gather a lot of damage by using all of their anti-ship weapons. The first type of battleships has the advantage of inflicting an incredible amount of damage in their initial attack. However, their main disadvantage is the lengthy reloading time of their main cannons, which delays their ability to quickly bring out another significant portion of their firepower. These battleships are good at initiating attacks as their devastating power can encourage other players to charge at the enemy. On the other hand, the second type of battleship has the advantage of continuously damaging opponents due to having weapons with short reloading time. However, the downside is that consistent and accurate targeting is crucial. If you fail to hit your target consistently with all the ship's anti-ship weapons, the damage output will be reduced, which may allow your opponents to overpower you. This is something that is very important to be aware of as it is very crucial for effectively using and selecting the battleship that best fits your playstyle. As for their anti-submarine capability, only Missouri and Yamato lack it, while the rest possess this capability. The battleship with the strongest anti-submarine capability is undoubtedly the RF Moscow, thanks to its numerous grenade launchers. USS Massachusetts also boasts a strong anti-submarine capability, with torpedoes that can deal significant damage, and its grenade launcher, while unable to hit submarines underwater, can intercept approaching torpedoes. It's currently the only battleship in the game that can rival Moscow in terms of anti-submarine capability. The anti-submarine capability of JS Yamato and New Hampshire may not be as impressive as that of Moscow and Massachusetts, but they're still capable of reducing the number of incoming torpedoes and the HP of the enemy ship. Battleships that has no anti-submarine capability, such as IJN Yamato and USS Missouri, are often targeted by submarines since they don't have anything to counter them, of course. These two battleships have to heavily rely on their teammates to fend off submarines, but teammates who are willing to cooperate in online matches are very rare, thus you may often sink a lot when using these two battleships. You can enhance the anti-submarine capability of the USS Missouri and other battleships that has missile, by equipping them with anti-submarine missiles. I didn't include missiles in the assessment of anti-submarine capability because using these missiles reduces the ship's overall damage output. These anti-submarine missiles are not as strong as the ones designed for attacking surface ships, hence why I choose not to consider them as part of the battleship's anti-submarine capability. As for their survivability, the battleship with the most awful survivability has got to be the IJN Yamato due to its poor speed, poor maneuverability, and poor air defense. A lot of submarines would go after this ship not only because it doesn't have the anti-submarine capability, but also because it can't easily escape from them. Not only submarines but also aircraft carriers often target this battleship, as they can harm it with their aircraft without taking much damage from its air defenses. USS Missouri is slightly better than Yamato as it has good air defenses and speed. However, if you'll be fighting on a map that has a lot of narrow places, it can be quite challenging to escape from submarines due to its poor maneuverability. It also can't fend them off as it doesn't have an anti-submarine capability. You have to heavily depend on your teammates that have the capability to fend them off, like I said earlier. The rest of the battleships are significantly better compared to the Yamato and Missouri, and among them, USS New Hampshire has the greatest survivability. The ship has nearly as many air defenses as RF Moscow, and its locked air defenses are quite powerful. It also has decent speed for a battleship and very good maneuverability, allowing it to hide behind obstacles fairly quickly. If torpedoes ever become trouble to escape, it has a grenade launcher for you to reduce their number. Of course, beneath the level of survivability of USS New Hampshire lies the survivability of RF Moscow. The ship has the most air defenses for a battleship. It also has good durability and decent maneuverability. Despite having a speed similar to Yamato and not so impressive maneuverability, this ship doesn't struggle much when dealing with submarines, as it can effectively fight back against them and intercept their torpedoes using its grenade launchers. The survivability of USS Massachusetts is also great too due to its higher speed and better maneuverability. What keeps its survivability under the level of RF Moscow's survivability is of course its air defenses, because the ship has fewer air defenses compared to Moscow. Lastly, the survivability of the JS Yamato is below the level of the USS Massachusetts survivability. It has great air defenses, but its speed and maneuverability are less than that of Massachusetts, and it has the lowest durability for a battleship. Now I'll be ranking the battleships. Let's start with the first battleship added to the game, which is the IJN Yamato. This battleship falls into the D tier due to having the worst survivability. It has a great firepower, but it's useless if it cannot last long in battle. It has high durability, but it's also useless because opponents can easily harm the ship. These drawbacks make the ship challenging to use effectively in combat, and its overall effectiveness is compromised. The USS Missouri goes to the B tier because it's significantly better than Yamato. It has good air defense, great speed, and it has missiles. Although its main cannon is slightly weaker than Yamato's, the ship makes up for it with the missiles, enabling the ship to easily deal a decent amount of damage to targets at long ranges, which Yamato cannot achieve unless the target is slow and big. The RF Moscow will be on the S tier since it has the greatest firepower for a battleship. It has great survivability, and it's the most capable battleship for anti-submarine warfare. The USS Massachusetts will also be on the S tier as its firepower and its survivability are not too far from that of Moscow. The JS Yamato will be going on the A tier due to its survivability being inferior to that of Moscow and Massachusetts. However, this battleship can be as dangerous as those two battleships as its firepower is S tier level. Finally, New Hampshire falls to the C tier because its firepower is quite weak compared to that of Missouri and the rest of the battleships. However, it's above Yamato due to its significantly better survivability. This is now my complete tier list for the battleships in this game. It's important to note that a ship's capabilities, no matter how impressive, are worthless if the player can't effectively use the ship. Also, this ranking is not official. Rather, it is based on my observations and understanding of all battleships in the game. So what do you guys think about my review and tier list of the battleships in this game? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your opinion on it. Now that's all for today's video. Hopefully you guys liked it, and if you all did, please leave a like and subscribe to support me. Thank you so much for watching.